are several states and brands who are shipping what is essentially cannabis nationwide under the auspices that it is legal hemp since it contains high levels of THCA, which is the precursor to THC. But somehow, there are several states that are selling this, saying that it's legal, but is it really? And this is what I wanted to dive into. So even though THCA flower looks and smells like traditional cannabis that you see with the same psychoactive effects, somehow under the guise of the federal government, it's legal, not under every state. So is it legal? It depends on who you ask. And I'm gonna go ahead and mute this guy. So THCA turns into THC when it's exposed to heat, the decarboxylation process. All THC flower starts as THCA flower. Since the THCA converts to THC the moment that you light the joint or the bowl, you're creating the THC at that moment. But according to the 2018 Farm Bill, hemp is defined as cannabis flower with no more than 0.3% THC by dry weight. Any bud exceeding this is considered illegal marijuana under Schedule 1 controlled substance. But since THCA was not factored into the pre-harvest testing, THC, delta 9 THC, is considered, in some definition of the Farm Bill, to be the only cannabinoid that matters when you're defining what hemp is. The debate over the legality of THCA flower and the interpretation of the federal guideline is an extremely hot topic. Rod Kite, who's an attorney who's been speaking frequently on THCA flower, says, under federal law and the laws of some but not all states, THCA flower is not a controlled substance. The sole metric for distinguishing hemp from marijuana is the level of delta 9 THC. The levels of other cannabinoids, including THCA, are irrelevant to the material's legal status. However, Jared Reams, another attorney and partner at Eklund and Blando, disagrees, saying if this were true, all cannabis would be hemp because THC is what the plant creates. In sum, THCA flower is not legal and is in fact just run-of-the-mill cannabis. Now, it all comes down to the testing, right? So they do the pre-harvest testing. If they find that it's less than 0.3% THC, it's good to go. However, the USDA issued an interim ruling saying that the total THC is THC plus 0.877% of the THCA. However, not every state utilizes the federal guidelines. Some do require post-harvest testing, in which case you'll likely be hot. Some growers will test their plants extremely early before cannabinoids really begin to express to get away with these things. With all the different variations in testing standards and the language about what constitutes hemp versus cannabis in the Farm Bill, it's relatively easy for THCA flower to end up on the marketplace. But it's still a legal gray area. Cookies recently raised eyebrows after it offered customers in many states the ability to buy so-called THCA flower online. To ensure compliance with the federal guidelines, the company only ships to states where smokable THCA flower has been deemed legal. According to their legal counsel, that is Alabama, Arkansas, Colorado, Nevada, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Vermont, West Virginia, and Wyoming. So allegedly, THCA flower is legal in all of these states. They looked at the way that they do the testing. They look at which if USDA guidelines they adhere to, or if they have their own state programs, whether or not smokable hemp has been outlawed in the state, things of that nature. Even though this may be the case, it's still clearly a contentious topic. I reached out to several THCA flower brands, and as soon as the questions around legality came up, they all ghosted me, which I found to be pretty interesting and pretty telling. And if you're not going to talk about it, clearly you know something is amiss. Furthermore, consumers in states where THCA flower has been allegedly deemed lawful may still run the risk of being prosecuted for cannabis. As you were talking about earlier, Dale, if a police officer finds someone in possession of THCA flower and tests it, it's going to test positive for marijuana, test positive for THC. So how is that going to hold up in court if they're in a prohibition state? And the lawyers that I spoke with said it's a sticky subject, right? Even if you can furnish a COA, the burden of proof they were saying is more about your ignorance of the law and the facts. And maybe some of the attorneys on the call can clarify that for me. But the DEA recently alluded to THCA in a letter that was allegedly leaked online, saying, again, cannabis derived Delta 9 THCA does not meet the definition of hemp because upon conversion for identification using that equation, equivalent to Delta 9. However, people who disagree with this notion argue that the original Farm Bill states that it's all about the THC, not the THCA, so it shouldn't matter. However, the current landscape around high THCA flower remains in a gray area. Many voices are arguing on both sides of it. While some are enjoying a perceived loophole, others insist it's only a matter of time before the hammer comes down. According to Reams, it's just too risky. I'm really curious what everybody else on this call is thinking about the THCA flower. Is it something that you've been seeing come up? Do you think that when the Farm Bill is new, that they're going to redefine what hemp actually is? How is this all going to play out?
Oh man, yeah. I think THC is definitely the elephant in the room in regards with that, and I'm just shocked to see all of these strains of weed being sold on the internet on open platforms and shipped to all of these different states. And I think, and Dale, we discussed this yesterday. I think anybody could make a legal case to say that none of their weed has THC in it, and it's only THCA since it hasn't been burned yet.
Well, you might try that, and I wouldn't make any large bets it's going to work. And the problem goes back to the terms that were used before they knew what THC was, where they used hemp and marijuana. And the federal law still uses that antiquated racist term of marijuana. What the fuck does it mean? When you get down to the tetrahydrocannabinoids that we're all talking about now, Meshulam identified THC, I think, in 1963. But by then, we already had this lexicon of hemp and marijuana, and they've been playing catch up since then on these definitions. And Rochelle, I'm not surprised that attorneys kind of their butt puckers up when you ask them about this, because no one has a good, solid answer. California uses the term all tetrahydrocannabinoids are controlled. So it doesn't matter if it's a tetrahydrocannabinoid, any analog, isomers, synthetic derivation, whatever. It's all covered. But not every state does that. And attorneys' jobs, the assholes that we are, is look for every loophole we can. And they've been looking for loopholes here. And if you say THCA isn't THC, then good luck with that. Because I wouldn't want to be the one risking prison to make that argument. As an attorney, yeah, you're going to pay me. I'll go make the argument. But I'm not going to be the one looking at the jailhouse door making that argument.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you on that, Dale. I'm like I said, I'm surprised that I even see it going on, but these people are definitely making a killing on it, and there is access being provided. So I'm very torn on a lot of these issues in regards with THCA. I definitely think it's a super loophole. Gretchen, are you thinking it's going to get closed in this next farm bill, or what are you hearing?
Oh, and I don't know what you're surprised about. Are you kidding me? I mean,
I'm surprised.
everyone is going to push the envelope as far as they can until someone cracks down on them. So I don't understand why you think this is so odd that these people are doing this.
Well, for one, I think it's odd that
Washington has the background or the knowledge to close that loophole.
You don't think that the federal government has the knowledge to close the loophole?
No, because it's
Really?
about science, and this ain't scientists writing this legislation. Nope.
Oh, interesting take. That is very, I find that very interesting, Gretchen. Because I mean,
They've been saying this since day one. They don't know the science. What are you just?
I understand that they don't know the science, but I'm just saying there's a lot of things that they can do very easily with a stroke of a pen that would eliminate it,
Right.
and it's not
you're
that
asking
difficult.
me if I think they will close this loophole, which would clear up the difference between THC and THCA. No, I don't think they're going to figure that out.
Well, the fear is they'll do something and make it worse. That's what we've seen all along here. They make some decision, write something down, and it turns out they're full of shit on the science, and the attorneys come in and find every loophole. It's like, you just made the situation worse. We're going to keep doing this till somebody takes it out of the CSA, sticks it someplace else, and stops having this mental masturbation over it. Let's just stop all this shit.
You basically just told them to stick it where the sun doesn't shine, huh, Dale?
Exactly. And they're all suffering from rectal myopia.
Oh, man.